Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Your City, Your County. And we have Kewaunee County Administrator Scott Feldt with us today. And Scott, it's good to see you. It's always
Nice
good
to be back, Bob. Nice to see you again.
always good to have you here on the show, and you always have a lot of good information that's pertinent for us. So we appreciate you being
Well, there's a
here.
lot of good stuff going on in the county. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the county. So glad to be here and talk about it.
That's good. I know one of the controversies that hung around for quite a while had to do with the county jail. We've talked to you about that, and we've talked with Sheriff Joski about it and various other people. How's the county jail coming along?
Well, again, we're continuing to move forward. I think for those that may not remember, Kewaunee County has the smallest and oldest jail in the entire state. And as we continue to move forward, we know that the current size does not fit our current needs and definitely will not even fit our future needs. So the county board had went through a process to look at a new facility, continued to try to keep a sharp pencil, and back in the fall of last year had approved that we would do a new facility that was roughly 52 beds, expandable to 85, and the estimated cost at that time was roughly $25.6 million. As we know, we're trying to keep that pencil sharp. Part of the reason why, for anyone that knows anything regarding inflation, inflation has not gone down. And so building costs have not gone down either. So what we've tried to do is continue to keep that cost right near that 25.6. It's probably a little bit up, a little bit over 26 million, but we're continuing to want to keep that low and adhere to the promises that we made to the citizens that we're going to try to build it around 26 million. So we continue to do that. And while that's happening, we're working with the architects, Venture Architects, and we believe that we will have design documents ready at the end of or sometime in April, which that means we'll review them and then put them out to bid to get the different bids, and that is a whole interesting process in its own. It's usually what happens is you're sending out multiple bids, and the reason why is it's not that you have one builder. You have bids for the doors, you have bids for the concrete, you have bids for the HVAC, you have a whole variety of bids from different contractors. And the reason why you do that is if you don't have just one bid for the building, that's going to be a certain price. But if you're able to break those bids up into smaller segments, you'll have more people that will bid on those smaller segments, which means that you'll get a lower price as you put them all together, because you have more contractors willing to bid on those pieces of work.
So you're more or less the general contractor then, is that correct?
Correct, but what we do, because again, while I do wear a lot of hats, being a general contractor is not something that I do on a daily basis. So therefore, what we do is we hire a firm to help be our general contractor, or a better word to use is construction manager. And so therefore they help to do the oversight of the day-to-day work, and we meet with them on a regular basis as the project moves forward. So again, the documents should be done in April. We hope to then have the bids out in May, and then, knock on wood, if everything works out, we hope to be moving dirt by fall. And so if we move dirt by fall, for those that are aware, a project like this is probably a 2-year project. So we wouldn't see anything probably opened up until 2025. And while that happens, we have to worry about staffing as well, because with a new facility, we will have to hire a few more staff. But again, that was all planned out. That's all within the budget. That's not something new, but we're going to continue to work that through as well. So I'm feeling good. The process is continuing to move forward.
I remember when Sheriff Joski was here. He was saying that he was trying to implement plans so they wouldn't need as well. Obviously, you need more people, but he was trying to limit that so certain people could do a couple of different jobs.
Yeah, and that's a great testament to Sheriff Joski and to the staff that we have. We're a unique county in that there's probably less than a handful of counties where we have a position that is not only a jailer, but they're also trained to be able to be a 911 dispatcher. So what will happen is, from a scheduling and a staffing standpoint, we have staff that can fulfill either role. So that makes it much easier to have staff that if there's an empty spot or something had happened, we're able to fill that because we have a larger pool of staff to choose from to try to fill that position. And in that same respect, by doing that, we'll be able to schedule our staff in such a way that we can have, if it was a 12-hour shift and there's 4 posts, we can have that staff person rotate among those 4 posts every 3 hours, so that way they're not at the same post for 12 hours, which helps to break up the day, which is nice, but also keeps them well trained in the various aspects of the operations within the jail and the 911 center, which again is a good thing because now you have a well-trained staff because they're continuing to be exposed and having to do that job.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would imagine they take more ownership that way too, don't they?
I would believe so. I don't even know that they need to take ownership. We have dedicated staff that it doesn't matter what their job is, they take ownership of it. So it's not I don't necessarily like this. We have a very professional staff, we have a very good staff, and we have a very good corporate culture. So in that respect, they already take ownership of their job and they do a fantastic job doing it. So it just allows us as a county more flexibility in how we do our operations.
Now, one question that came up for me was, if somebody's in charge of the 911 section and something has to be done at the jail, this guy at 911 doesn't have to, or lady,
Correct.
doesn't have to go over to the jail.
Correct. What we've done is we've separated out some of those types of things. Currently, we have 2 staff in our current jail, which is a small jail, small facility. And so those 2 staff do both 911 and jail. And usually if something happens in the jail, then one staff person has to go take care of the jail. One person always stays in 911. Well, with the larger facility, we will have one person that's always in master control dealing with the jail, and one person that's always in 911, and then we'll have a second person that's assigned primarily to the jail, and another person that does work in the booking area, but since we have a pretty good county here, we're not arresting all kinds of people every single hour of the day. They can help to assist the 911 center, and as the day goes on, each of those staff people kind of switches their roles. So again, it breaks up the day and also keeps them well trained in those different jobs. So
I remember when I was on the school board up in Sturgeon Bay, that a lot of people said, gee, the building is so expensive and so on, but
it is.
But truly, isn't a whole lot of it the personnel?
Well, I'll go with this. Both answers are absolutely correct, Bob. You're absolutely right in that building a jail is expensive, and part of the reason why is there are specific state standards that we need to adhere to. Why? Because we're talking about safety. We're talking about that you can't have lights that are up here on the ceiling that inmates can have access to. That's a safety issue. There's vents. You can't have them like they are on a typical wall because there's safety issues. There's processes and procedures that we're doing to not only keep our staff safe but fellow inmates safe. So that takes more of a cost. But in that same respect, and this is true of any building, especially from a government standpoint, a building may cost a bunch of money, but where the real cost is the people that are inside of it. Why? Because your building is going to last for decades. And the amount of people that you have in that building are also going to be in there for decades. But those costs and those wages continue to go up as time goes by. Where with a building, as long as you're maintaining it, the cost of maintaining the building is significantly less than having to build a new building every year. So yes, you're absolutely right. A building is expensive, but the people that are in the building are what's the real long-term cost to government.
Sure, whether they're a worker or a prisoner at the time.
Correct, exactly.
Okay. Let's turn to something a little more fun.
Okay.
How about Winter Park? How's that been going?
Hold on,
this year?
winter? You're saying winter is fun?
Winter?
Well, winter can be
Well,
fun.
it could be.
Winter can be fun.
It's possible.
Winter Park has gone fairly well. For anyone that has been here over the winter, they've seen absolutely how unpredictable the weather has been. It will be one day it was almost 50 degrees, and then 2 days later it's snowing. And then 3 days after that it's raining. And then 2 days after that it's 12 degrees. So the weather has been very unpredictable, which has made things much more challenging for our Parks Department, because you have to have snow to be able to tube, you have to have snow to be able to ski. The weather was so unpredictable that we were unable to do the ice skating rink that we usually try to do. But we do know that we've had, at least for this season, over 12,000 people on the tube hill. I'm not exactly sure the numbers on the ski hill, but we've had a good season. And again, it's a fantastic attraction that people continue to go to. In fact, it truly is a winter park. And so we're getting really close. If it's not, I'm going to assume that it will be this week, will probably be our last week of being open, again because of the weather. But it's been a great year despite all the challenges of the weather, and again, all of the staff and especially all of the volunteers. I'd really like to thank all the work that they put in, because I don't think people realize the amount of time that's put in. On Saturdays and Sundays it's open to the public, but we have private school groups and private groups that come and rent out the Tube Hill Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. So we have a lot of private groups as well, and that puts a lot of pressure and takes a lot of time out of our staff and our volunteers, and they've done a great job, and we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of people go there and they go, well, I spent my 2 hours there and it was a lot of fun, and they don't think of the rest of the responsibility.
Correct. And let's think of it this way. Tell me of a place now that you can have 2 hours of unadulterated fun for $10.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even go to a movie for $10 anymore.
No, that's right.
So it's a really, and that's for the Tube Hill. I think the ski hill is $15, and if you want to do ice skating, if we would have had ice skating, that's absolutely free. Mm-hmm. So again, this is a great quality of life amenity for our residents, for visitors, and really proud of what we have.
Yeah. When you go to Disneyland or Disney World, and it's
$100 for the day.
$100. I remember when it used to be 18.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If we could charge, and I'm not saying we should do this, but if you could charge everyone $100 a day, you know what? I would throw 2 parades every single day in Kewaunee County as well. But I don't think that the residents would like that too much. And 2, they're absolutely right that they shouldn't be charged $100 a day just to live in their home.
They deserve better than that.
Absolutely.
And more. Absolutely. And the ski hill was open this year.
Yes.
There was a little bit of question in the beginning.
Well, and part of the reason why is, again, part of it was the weather. And so that was a little, because it takes a while to, and people, again, don't realize the amount of hours that it needs to create the snow and put that snow down to create a base. And there was another run that we don't really have lines to, so that was a little more of a challenge to get that snow on that snow run. We were worried about staffing and as to whether we would have enough folks to be able to man the ski hill and the tube hill. So there was a little bit of uncertainty there. And from a public standpoint, we have significantly more people using the tube hill than the ski hill. So if we were going to have to not open one, it would have been the ski hill prior than before the tube hill. But luckily, with the Winter Park Association and with the volunteers, we were able to do that. So
Good.
very happy about that.
That's great. Another question for you. We got a whole slew of them
That's
coming
fine.
here this morning. Public Information Officer, the
Yes.
Tourism Coordinator. What's going on over there?
Well, our previous PIO tourism coordinator, Jennifer Gonzalez, she had moved on last summer and wasn't sure what we wanted to do from a budgeting standpoint, wasn't sure with the jail and everything else, wanted to make sure that we were able to afford one. And so we were just able to select a new public information officer and bring him on board. His name is Josh Visti. Actually, he used to be the public information officer for the city of New London.
Oh,
But he lives in the city of Kewanee. So he was driving down to New London every day. And I believe he's actually from the Sturgeon Bay area, but he lives now here in Kewanee County. And he started on February 27th, and we're excited to have him on board. I think what we're going to do, not just from a website standpoint, but I'd like to see the county push a little bit more from the video standpoint to give people some good ideas or some informational videos as to the different things that Kewanee does and what the parks are like, or the Anape Trail, or a great place to go and eat. In fact, we're thinking of some different series to put out to the public because there are so many great things in Kewanee County. In fact, we're thinking of a series called 5 Minutes Away, because when you really think of it, almost wherever anyone lives within the Kewanee County, they're only 5 minutes away from a really neat thing to do, or to go eat, or to go and enjoy some type of recreation. So we're thinking of possibly doing some type of series like that called 5 Minutes Away. So, he's getting his feet underneath him and making sure that he has all the things that he needs, getting acclimated, and then we hope to, take off and provide those types of things to the public. So
I know that's been used in other areas where they've, you go in and you go into a motel.
Yep.
And you turn on a certain channel and you get to see what's going on in the county. And it's wonderful for tourism. It's also exceptional for the local residents.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the bigger things is we want to make sure and want to try to push that more information for county residents. Because some people may not know that we have a zoo. Some people have never been on the Anape Trail. Some who don't know about snowmobile trails or the fishing or whatever. And so I think this is an opportunity that we can help to highlight those different recreational amenities and opportunities within the county, but have that available on our website so more and more folks can come to our website and get that information, or just as simple as answering simple questions regarding snow plowing or veteran services, or the different services that we provide to our county residents. And I think those are all opportunities that we could be doing and want to do. And now we have someone on board, and we're gonna start doing that.
Will he be working with the Chamber of Commerce of the various communities, Luxembourg, Kewanee?
Well, absolutely, we'll be doing a partnership in that respect. That we want to help to do some of that. The thing we always want to be careful about is, we don't want there to ever be a thought that we're choosing favorites, Algoma over Kewanee, over Luxembourg, over Casco.
Sure.
So we'll want to be doing some of those things, because some of those neat things, if we're talking about wineries, well, you got Von Stiel and you got Parallel 44. So it's not that we're choosing favorites, it's those are the two that are there. If we're talking about the Anape Trail, well, there's a trailhead in Algoma and in Kewanee and in Luxembourg and in Casco, so we could be doing those things and highlighting those different areas as well as events. But we want to make sure, and we don't want to steal any thunder from the chambers themselves, because they do a lot of great work themselves. And the last thing we want to do is now come in and therefore overshadow the work that they do.
Sure.
And let them promote their events the way they want, and therefore get the credit and the accolades that they so richly deserve.
Sure, and maybe you can just more support them
Correct.
in a backward, not a
Correct.
backward fashion,
From a
but supportive fashion.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
exactly. So the last thing we want to do is to now be doing what the chamber's work is, and the reason why is because, again, the chamber is going to want to do things a certain way, as well they should. It's their
Sure.
organization. The last thing we want to do is then be coming in and looking like we're trying to dictate what the chamber should be doing or what events they should be promoting. We want to make sure that the chambers are able to promote the events that they want to do and do the work that they want to do, and instead we're more of a supporter from a county-wide perspective as opposed to a specific chamber or community perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we may be seeing more of Josh then. It sounds
You
like.
will definitely be seeing more of Josh.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. We'll try and get him on here one of these days.
That would be just
Okay.
fine.
That sounds good. Big Al, he can get him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Absolutely.
And as far as recreation goes, I know we've talked about Winter Park and the new tourism coordinator. I know that Bremer Park Zoo is part of your bailiwick, if
Yep.
I can say that big word.
Yeah.
And what's going on over there? I understand that there's more big animals out there.
Well,
and-
yep. Well, and I'll do that tongue-in-cheek part in a second.
Okay.
It was just a couple weekends ago that the Kewanee County Zoological Society had their Zoop Art event out at the fairgrounds, which was always a partnership with the local school districts, where you'd have students make soup bowls, and then what would happen is we'd have local residents as well as businesses come into the exhibition hall out at the fairgrounds and offer soup. And so, yes, you'd pay a ticket and you'd get a soup bowl, and you could go to any vendor whatsoever and have as little or as much soup as you wanted. And that's a fundraiser for the Zoological Society. So that's all well and good, but what we've been trying to do for a number of years is try to add another exhibit that would kind of pique the interest of people. And the Zoological Society had talked about putting together what is a pheasant exhibit. Now, when most people think of pheasants, they think of the ringneck pheasant or maybe even the golden pheasant, which are beautiful animals. In fact, we have people that hunt pheasant here within Kewanee County, and there's actually there's some breeding space right there in Bremer Park, down on the lower end. But what we're wanting to do is create a pheasant exhibit that would have a number of different pens or display areas to try to do a variety of different pheasant species, not just the ringneck and the golden, but there are some pheasant species that are absolutely beautiful. They're very colorful. They're blue, they're yellow, they're gold, just gorgeous. And so what we want to do, and we were able to, through a partnership, we want to put together a construction of a pheasant exhibit. So it was Kewanee County in partnership with the Kewanee County Zoological Society and a private donor that we're going to create, I believe it's either 8 or 10 pens for some different types of pheasants, and start there, and hopefully we can expand that out, because we'd love to have every single species of pheasant there for people to see, because most people don't know of these other species, so we'd love to do that. And for those that aren't real fond of pheasant, as again from the tongue-in-cheek standpoint, they can still come to the zoo and see the giraffe that we have, or the elephant. Now, for those that have been down to Bremer Park Zoo, there's also a lion, there's also a rhinoceros, and there's also a zebra. Now, no, they are not live animals.
So don't expect them to move around.
No, they are not
Okay.
live. Well, they stand very still just to make sure that they don't attract attention.
That's good.
But we've had a local artist that had constructed or that had created the giraffe, and after seeing the giraffe, one of our private donors had saw that and go, "This is fantastic. Could this same person do an elephant?" And they did an elephant, and we actually had that installed last summer. It's beautiful. I guess I'm just really amazed at how year after year after year there's another new something, there's another something, there's another item. And so Bremer Park is becoming, especially the lower park and through the zoo, through the Zoological Society, is there continues to be these continual improvements, which I think is fantastic, because that's a great thing to do for folks that want to take their kids and maybe picnic and just kind of let the young ones kind of run around, but also see the animals as well as the animal statues, and it can be a nice little excursion for families with kids.
What I'm looking forward to in maybe 10 years or so, that there will be big buildings out there and they'll say, "This is the elephant house."
There
And
we go.
There'll be 5 elephants in there. And,
Well, I think of it this way, Bob. When you bequeath half of your estate, then what we
Okay.
can do is we can name it as the Bob Gray Elephant House. So I'm all for that. We can
Okay.
work that out with you.
Okay, you might call it the Bob Gray Pelican House
Oh,
or something.
whichever.
That's about all I could probably
That-
come up with.
that's
but
okay.
I'll work on that for you.
Yeah. No worries.
Okay. And how soon is the pheasant exhibit going to get started?
We hope to break ground in April. So
Okay.
then hopefully what can happen is that can get finished, and then we will try to get some different breeds to be into the pens and make sure that we have everything that's needed from seed and water and plant vegetation and the like within that as well, because we're not going to have it be just like a concrete floor that they're walking on. We want it to look much more like their natural habitat, those types of things. So break ground in April, and then hope that we can have everything finished up and people being able to view by summer, fall.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
Yeah.
great. One other question before we started on the air here. I've seen advertising for individuals who are county executives, and you're a county administrator.
Correct.
What's the difference?
Okay, in the state of Wisconsin, for counties, there are 3 different positions that could basically oversee or run a county. The one that you were talking about, county executive, that's an elected position. So terms are typically 4 years, and you have to run then for re-election. Perfect example is in Brown County, the county executive is Troy Streckenbach. In Outagamie, it's Tom Nelson. In Winnebago County, it's John Domel. There's roughly about a dozen, I believe, close to 10 roughly, county executives. And then you have a large number of county administrators. Now those are appointed by the county board, and they serve at the pleasure of the county board. So they don't have to run for re-election at all. And then there's a third one, which is an administrative coordinator. Again, very similar to a county administrator in that that position is appointed and serves at the pleasure of the board. So then the next question is, okay, what's the difference between an administrative coordinator and a county administrator? And what's the difference between a county administrator and a county executive? So for that, an administrative coordinator does the overall day-to-day running of the county. But when it comes to human resources, the hiring and firing of employees, The administrative coordinator does not have that authority by statute. Instead, that authority is given to the county board and standing committees within the county board. So if you had a county conservationist or a finance director, it's not the administrator that hires that finance director, it's that county board or committee that hires that finance director and evaluates those positions. As a county administrator, I do the hiring and firing. So I hire finance directors, I evaluate their work, of which our finance director is phenomenal. But it's hiring and firing is done then through the county administrator. And so in that respect, administrative coordinator doesn't get to do the hiring and firing, the county administrator does. County executive, they too can do the hiring and firing of department heads and oversee of staff. So in that respect, they're very similar to a county administrator, except they are elected and they have a few more statutory duties that are not given to a county administrator. A county executive can veto things that are brought before the county board, where a county administrator cannot do that.
Okay.
But so again, very similar in the duties. The biggest change is having to do with staffing and who can hire and fire.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you've cleared that up. I had a question about that for probably a week or so.
Not a problem, and I know it's an exciting topic that if you needed to, I could go on for hours. But I don't think we need to do that.
That's really plenty, Scott. Thank you. Hey, we've run out of time once again. We always do this, and I'm always worried that we're not going to have enough to talk about. But boy, we never run short.
No, there's always good stuff going on in the county.
Thank you. You are always helpful. Thank you, Scott.
Bob. Glad to be back.
Thank you. We've been talking with Scott Feldt, who is the Kewaunee County Administrator, thank you, of Kewaunee County. And that's going to do it for our show today. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll come back again for your city, your county, when it's time once again for the show. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day. So long.